Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Business Every Day. Today I have the fantastic opportunity to tell you it has been 6 months since I have been using my XCarve CNC machine. Today I wanted to give you my opinion, my review of working with the Inventables X-Carve, the 1000 millimeter, for the last 6 months. I have made hundreds of carves with this machine, and I have learned some things, and if you want to see my journey through this, I will link in the description the 1 month, the 3 month, and now the 6 month review of my machine. The good, the bad, the things that I've noticed, the things that I might have changed or do differently, and just overall how it's gone. My overall opinion, I'll just start off with, is that the XCarve CNC machine is a great place to start if you're going to get into CNC. One of the reasons that I chose this particular machine over like the Onefinity or the Avid or a few other different machines was the community of people that are already surrounding the XCarve. Whether you go on Facebook or Instagram or on YouTube, there's already a really fantastic community of people that are there to answer questions, that are there to show tutorials, and I knew as a new person to this machine that I was going to need a lot of help. And I was going to need a community of people surrounding this machine to help me get started and not get so frustrated. And I looked at a bunch of the different machines, and there are communities for those machines. But I found that the most robust community and the one that I interacted with the best was the XCarve, the Inventables community. And so I would say if you're new to using a CNC machine, for the community aspect alone, it is a great way to get started because you're gonna have tons of people that are sharing their carve, sharing their settings, sharing what works and what doesn't work, and different ideas that you could try. One of the concerns that I had getting this machine was durability. A lot of the other machines use bearings and rods instead of belts to actually run the X, Y, and Z axis. Now the upgraded machine that I have, the new 2021 machine, actually the Z axis has been upgraded, which is awesome. There's been reinforcements to the Y and the X axis as well, so that makes it far more robust than when it first came out. But I had concerns about the belt reliability. So far, I have not encountered any issues with my machine whatsoever. It has always worked, it has always performed. I've lost my zero, I've lost my trim twice in the 6 months of me doing hundreds of carves where I've had to readjust the machine and make it square to itself. But overall, it has held up quite nicely. I'm very pleased. Now the belts are something that I still do maintenance. I do make sure that they are clean after every carve, and I also tighten them up periodically according to the sound if you flick them, and make sure that they're still tight because I don't want my motor slipping and screwing up my carve. The Makita router has also been very durable. I know there were concerns moving from the DeWalt to the Makita router. I have, like I said, done a few hundred carves. I think I'm borderline 500 different carves at this point, and the brushes to that router are still holding up. I usually run my machine somewhere between the 1 and the 2 setting, and the brushes have not worn out as of yet, which I'm super thrilled about. I have extra brushes for the machine, but they haven't worn out, which was a concern of mine. One thing that I'm not super excited about is the wasteboard. The wasteboard is what it sounds like, it's a wasteboard, but the holes in the clampage that are a part of the XCarve setup are not my favorite. The holes are spaced in a way that makes it somewhat hard to get good firm grasp on your material, so I use a lot of the tape and CA glue method. I've created my own jigs, and the C-channel clamps work pretty well, but you need to very early on figure out your clamping or jig model. Which kind of leads into the next thing that I want to say is if you're going to be doing a lot of carves, you need a lot of jigs. I would say that you need to go in and create at least 2 jigs, one for the Y axis and one for the X axis. That way you can get to a square zero very, very quickly. Otherwise, you're having to put a level and then a square on the machine every single time you want to carve, and it just becomes a hassle. One of the things that is very important to me, removing all the obstacles that would hinder me from doing a carve. Let's say that if the machine is placed here in my shop versus over here, whether it's plugged in here or a laptop stand or whatever might come into play that would keep me from entering into a carve very, very quickly, I want to remove, because as I'm learning something completely new, because this is completely new for me, I want to make sure that I give myself the best chance possible of learning and enjoying this process. A big debate online with the XCarve is the Easel software. Now, I have my own opinions about the Easel software, some good, some bad. See my other videos about what I think about Easel. But overall, I think it's a great place to start. It begins to create in your mind how G-code works and how 3D modeling work, and eventually you can grow beyond that to Fusion 360 or VCarve Pro, I think is what it's called. There are many different ways in which you can send code to your XCarve CNC, but I recommend that you learn Easel because it will cover most everything that you encounter unless you're a serious modeler and you want to do a lot of intricate 3D stuff. Most of your 2D stuff, there's already a template, there's already a form, you can even go to the Inventables project page, and there's probably something that you can even copy and paste and at least give you a template to get started. For the most part, I'm very satisfied with the Easel software. The one piece of advice I can give in regards to upping the bar of your carves is learn Inkscape. Inkscape is a piece of software for photo editing, but you can create grids and you can create actually G-code, SVG files, DXL files from that platform. And so if you're wanting to do pictures and create like the outlines and the lines of the picture, the trace picture function in Easel is kind of quirky. Sometimes it gets really, really muddy. But in Inkscape, you can actually come up with some really fantastic designs and then you export it from there, import it into Easel, and then you pretty much have everything that you'll ever need. Something that I think is absolutely fantastic about this CNC is that it doesn't have a proprietary spindle that I can add or swap out the spindle at any time, which brings a lot of security in my mind as a beginning machinist, if that's what we're called. As I'm growing my business and looking to scale, I can have parts and pieces that are in my inventory that are there just in case I have a machine break. Because the last thing that you want is to have an order come through, say it's 500 units, and then you get all your stock material and then something happens like a belt breaks or your router blows up or something like that, and then you cannot get the parts and pieces to fulfill. With a proprietary spindle, that becomes a very, very expensive ordeal, whereas if you have something like the Makita router or the DeWalt router, those things are very readily available at your local hardware stores. You can get them on Facebook Marketplace. There are tons of places that you can get this Makita router, and that brings security in my mind. If there was ever a problem for me to try to fulfill an order, I'm going to be able to solve that problem. Also, bits are easy to find. I didn't know that you could use just regular router bits. I mean, it is a router, so I thought that should have come to mind earlier, but I don't have to search online for CNC bits. There are some really fantastic specific CNC bits, but overall, if you get any router bit, I've mainly worked with 1/4 and 1/8 bits, whether it be down cut, up cut, V bits, things like that. But you can use this wide array of router bits for your XCarve CNC, which I find awesome and fantastic. The size of the CNC, 1000 millimeter by 1000 millimeter, is the one that I have, and I think it's perfect size. Because you can do tiling in Easel, I do not see myself in the near future needing anything more. Now, the Avid CNC is the one that I am looking at to upgrade to next once I get to that point in my business. That is really because that I can fit a full sheet of plywood, a 4-foot by 8-foot piece on that machine, whereas the XCarve 1000 millimeter at least, you cannot do that. The XCarve Pro, you could do that. The price point between the Avid and the Pro are very different, and I think we can get a little more out of the Avid, though I'm not 100% sure. I have met somebody that I think I can go and experiment with their Avid and figure out what I actually like and don't like. But the size for a home shop, a small business, your Etsy store, something like that, the 1000 by 1000 is a fantastic size. It's big enough where you can do everything that you want, but it's not too big where the platform in your shop doesn't feel overwhelming. The last thing that I can say about the XCarve CNC is that they require you to assemble it yourself. And there are mixed opinions about this. My personal opinion, and a person who likes to fix their own stuff, I think that is the best thing in the world, because I know every part, every screw, every tension a part of this machine. And if you really want to understand your process, if you really want to be able to troubleshoot, and if you want to almost fail-proof your process so that you know exactly how it needs to be done, and if there's a problem or an issue or something is out of square, you know what to adjust, you know what to fix, and you know what to change. Assembling the entire thing yourself, I think, is the best method. There are other CNCs that come pre-assembled. You just go boom, 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 and then within 30 minutes you can be carving. That is awesome if you already know the process of how to create your models and then import it and then actually do your carves. But I think as a starting place, you really should learn about the machine. This will keep you safe, I think, as well, because you can respect the potential danger. Because let's be fair, it is a machine of danger. You can get yourself, just like you can with a table saw or anything else, like if you use it enough, you begin to lose your respect for it. And me having to assemble and maintenance my own equipment keeps me at that level of respect for the machine that I keep myself safe. I have a small checklist written down in my shop that things that I do to make sure that I stay safe. And let me be honest, I haven't always followed my own checklist, and I almost got hurt a couple of weeks ago. And it just reminded me, it's like, no, you need to respect the machine, it can hurt you, and it's not worth it. You need to take it seriously, and if you have a small business, you need to take it very seriously, because what you do is going to affect how eventually maybe employees react or interact with the equipment, and you want to keep them safe too. Well, there you have it, my 6-month review of the XCarve CNC. I am thrilled that you guys have been joining me on my journey as I have been building this business, sharing with you content, and the good, the bad, the ugly. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining in. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you next time.